we're talking about agitation in the tote. Before we start, just one quick question. Can I agitate at any time, or in the process, do I have to get the tote up to temperature first before I start to agitate?
You'll want the tote to temperature before you agitate. Anything colder is going to take away the agitation process, and it could be a waste of time.
Okay.
Get it to 20 degrees Celsius before you start.
Okay, and if you've seen our previous videos, you know this tote's at 24.5 degrees. So let's get agitating.
Okay, the preferred method is with the Micromatic Pro Blend. It is basically an air bubbler. This is the unit here. It's a fancy regulator is what it is. All our locations should be supplied with this. If not, get a hold of myself or your sales rep, and we can get you set up with one. It basically sends a pulse of air down a tube into the tote and agitates the product with the bubble. The machine will come in a box in basically pieces. You'll have the regulator part, you'll have what we call the down tube, you'll have just a connector, we just call this an RP valve, and you'll have a cap. There's a couple different versions of the cap out there. There's a blue cap with just one spot to put this in. There's a black cap available as well, where you put this valve in, and then there's actually a spot for a vent, a separate vent. Either one is the same thing, but only different. So to put them together, you can see in here, in the tote, you screw in the fitting into the cap, you apply the tube to that fitting, and you're basically ready to go. To agitate the product, you just want to screw that down into the tote, good and tight. The Pro Blend is basically, like I said, it's basically a fancy air regulator. You lift the handle and you want to attach it to the cap. It's a quarter turn ball valve, just like you're capping a keg of beer. Lock it in, lock it down into place. It is ready to go. The units also come preset on the front. There's a pressure gauge. They'll come preset already between 50 and 70 PSI, so you don't have to adjust the pressure. There's an on-off switch to start the pulse action, and there's also a timing dial. What you want to do is plug the unit in with air, turn it on, and set the pulse rate with that dial to about 1 pulse every 1 to 2 seconds for the duration of the agitation. So simply attach the regulator unit to the cap and tube. You just want to plug the unit in. You can hear it firing already. So what we'll do is we will just slow it down to a pulse rate of about that. And if you're here, you might be able to hear it, but you can hear the pulse. You can hear the PROCOTE bubbling from the bottom of the tote and slowly rising to the top. So basically, this is all you're doing, is you're running this for 15 minutes on a brand new tote for the first time, 5 minutes every day. And that's it. It's as easy as that.
How often should you use the system to agitate a tote?
You just want to agitate it prior to use. We don't, believe it or not, we don't want to over agitate the product. We use a clay-based thickener, so over agitation in some products can make the product thicker and thicker every time it's agitated through testing. So our recommendation is 15 minutes for a brand new tote prior to its first use when it's brand new. After it's been agitated once or twice, 5 minutes the day of. But again, agitate it for 5 minutes and then do your test.
Okay.
Take the regulator off, use the dip tube in and out of the tote. That's your best indication.
And does it matter if my tote is right full, or let's say I've pulled a tote but I've got a little bit left over from last year. If it's a half full tote, do I do anything different with the agitation?
No, everything will stay the same. Times will stay the same. Dip testing will stay the same. Nothing really changes. In fact, with a half full tote, you want to check the product probably more frequently because now you've got a lower level. So your agitation is not going to be as good as when the tote was full. So again, agitation times is recommended in the manual, but they also aren't written in stone. Sometimes you need 15 minutes instead of 5. The best way is check the tote yourself.
So at the end of the day, the moral of the story is find out for yourself, do a quick test, and see where you're at.
Exactly. Yep. Do the test. That's your best friend.
Perfect.